Why are you doing this? After finishing work, I returned to the United States for the first time in 3 years. Having received the news of my daughter's pregnancy, I decided to surprise her and her husband by visiting their home. To my shock, I found my daughter, despite being in her final month of pregnancy, waiting in the scorching sun.
He said it's a wife's job.
Noticing my presence, my daughter, with her large belly, broke down in tears. The unbelievable story she then shared left me speechless. Holding my trembling daughter, I resolved to take revenge on a certain person. My husband passed away 20 years ago when I was 35. Since then, I raised my daughter Nicole on my own while climbing to the position of CEO at a major apparel company where I worked. I couldn't let her feel lonely after losing her father at the age of 8. With that in mind, I doted on Nicole more than anyone else. Even after she became an adult and independent, I continued to watch over her as a mother while dedicating myself to my work. Since she grew up to be such a kind person, I want her to live a happy life. However, my modest wish was cruelly shattered. It all started when Nicole, who had just turned 28, visited me and said,
Mom, I have something to tell you. I want to marry this person.
I had a feeling she was seeing someone, but Nicole introduced me to a man who was a year older than her.
Nice to meet you. I'm Michael Miller. I work in the apparel industry too, though at a small company.
Dressed in a sharp suit, he smiled at me, showing his perfectly white teeth. It seemed they had met through a mutual acquaintance and hit it off immediately. After dating for a few years, he finally proposed to her. Nicole was already of a good age for marriage, so I had no objections to the idea itself. However, there was something that bothered me a little.
Actually, I haven't had breakfast. Could you get me something to eat?
Shortly after coming into the house, Michael said this with a smile. He probably didn't mean any harm, but I was a bit taken aback that he would make such a request to his girlfriend's mother on their first meeting. Additionally, from the moment he arrived, Michael had been looking around the room as if he were inspecting it. Since I had put some effort into the interior design, he might have just been interested, but his gaze felt somewhat unsettling. However, Nicole didn't seem to mind his behavior at all. Maybe I'm just overthinking it, I thought. Just then, as Michael was eating the snack I had prepared, he suddenly looked up.
Actually, I have a favor to ask you.
According to him, despite their discussions about marriage, they hadn't found a suitable place to live yet.
So, if it's all right, could the two of us live in this house?
This house is spacious, right? If it's a bother, we'll keep looking.
Nicole added hesitantly, supporting Michael's request. Indeed, as they said, my house was quite large and spacious enough for the three of us to live comfortably. Even so, it's a bit strange for Michael to bring this up. Despite my slight unease, I agreed with his proposal. After all, I had something to discuss with them as well. In that case, it's perfect timing. I have to go abroad for work in 3 months. In fact, I was scheduled for a 5-year overseas assignment to work on a major project crucial to the company's future. I had been wondering what to do with the house during that time. I trust you both, so I'll let you stay in the house for 5 years.
Really? Wow. That's fantastic.
Michael's enthusiastic response to my answer made me a bit worried about whether Nicole would be alright marrying this man. As a parent who had always prioritized Nicole's well-being, I might have been overprotective.
Mom, thank you. I'm going to be happy.
Even so, seeing my daughter smiling brightly in front of me, I couldn't possibly oppose this marriage. However, I would later deeply regret this decision. After witnessing their wedding, I left for my overseas assignment as planned. The project was a major one for the company, making me busier than I had ever been in the United States. Despite this, I kept in touch with my daughter through biweekly phone calls. Gradually, I noticed a change in our conversations. How's married life?
Oh. Yes, it's fun and I'm happy.
Even over the phone, I could tell that Nicole's voice lacked its usual energy. When I asked her if something was wrong, she would brush it off with, "It's nothing or you're imagining things." One winter day, I was shocked when Nicole answered the phone with a hoarse voice. "What happened to your voice?"
Yes, I have a bit of a fever. But I need to make Michael's meal.
What are you talking about? You need to rest at times like this.
But it's my job.
Nicole, seemingly delirious from the fever, hung up the phone. Even if she usually handles the housework, she shouldn't have to work when she has a fever. What on earth is going on in their marriage? Later, when I called to check on her, my now-recovered daughter brushed off my concerns, saying, "It was just that my husband was busy at that time."
Don't worry about me, Mom. I'm fine. Just focus on your work.
With those words, Nicole encouraged me to keep working hard. So, despite my worries about Nicole, I continued my life overseas for several years. As the project progressed, I received some great news during one of my regular calls with my daughter. Nicole was pregnant. Hearing this, I was overjoyed and couldn't wait to return home. It's my first grandchild. Nicole must be anxious about her first childbirth. Concerned about her well-being, my desire to return to the U.S. grew stronger. I worked at a rapid pace to ensure I could be there for her delivery. My efforts paid off, and I was able to return home 2 years earlier than planned, just as Nicole was entering her final month of pregnancy. Why not surprise them with my return? With a heart full of excitement and a plane loaded with gifts, I headed back to the U.S. for the first time in 3 years. I was eager to check on my daughter and son-in-law's situation, witness the birth of my grandchild, and most of all, see Nicole again. I was sure she would be surprised at first, but she would definitely be happy about my return. If she's pregnant, their marriage must be going well. Honestly, hearing about the baby had eased many of my previous worries. However, my optimism was soon shattered. When I arrived home from the airport, an unimaginable sight awaited me. Nicole. Before entering my familiar home, I glanced at the garden and was shocked, dropping my luggage. It was the height of summer in the U.S., with the sun blazing down, and there was Nicole, heavily pregnant, crouching in the garden. She looked up, startled to see me.
Mom. What are you doing here?
Upon closer inspection, I noticed she was holding weeds in her hands. Noticing my daughter weeding, I hurriedly ran over to her. Never mind that. Why are you doing this? There was no way a pregnant woman should be doing yard work in this heat. As I placed my hand on Nicole's shoulder, still bewildered, she said,
Because he said it's a wife's job.
She started crying uncontrollably. A few minutes later, after moving to a cooler place and calming down, Nicole confided everything that had happened to me. The story was so terrible that, for the first time in my life, I felt a rage that made my blood boil. How dare he do this to my precious daughter? I will never forgive him. Unable to contain my anger, I found myself holding my phone. At that moment, I decided to thoroughly punish the person who had tormented my beloved daughter and made a call to a certain place. 1 week later, on Sunday, after staying at a hotel for a while, I visited my home again. Since hearing everything from Nicole until this day, I had been moving solely to take revenge on the person who hurt my daughter. And finally, on this day, I was ready to punish him.
Oh, what? Mom! Have you already come back to the US?
When I rang the doorbell, Michael, looking surprised, peeked out from inside. Yes, my return was a bit earlier than expected.
I see. Well, Nicole is out traveling with friends, so she's not home right now.
Although he showed a moment of panic, Michael quickly put on a fake smile. On the other hand, I frowned at his words. Because I knew where my daughter really was. Don't lie. Nicole is staying at a hotel right now. When I snapped back, Michael shuddered in surprise at my unexpected response. After that, I took Nicole to a nearby hotel where we stayed together. Judging by the situation, it seemed he didn't even bother to look for his suddenly missing wife. What do you mean by lying to me? Weren't you worried that your wife was missing?
No. Actually, I was just about to start looking for her. I didn't want to worry you.
When I pressed him, Michael started making excuses in a flustered manner. I was exasperated by his refusal to admit his wrongdoing. Stop running away. I've heard everything from Nicole. Michael froze at my words. Seeing him like that, I recalled the unbelievable stories Nicole had told me. She had been subjected to harassment at home for a long time. While he was kind during their courtship and early marriage, Michael gradually pushed all the housework onto my daughter, eventually treating her like a servant. Even during that winter phone call, Nicole had been forced to work despite having a fever. Moreover, when Michael was not at home during the day, he would take away the keys, saying it was a waste of electricity, and force Nicole to do tasks like weeding in the yard. How could you do this to my precious daughter? To treat such a kind person this way? I glared at Michael, who remained silent, clenching my fists. When I asked Nicole why she had kept all this to herself, she replied,
I couldn't make Mom, who raised me alone, feel sad.
How could such a considerate daughter be forced to endure such a draining marriage?
That's just something Nicole is saying. I haven't done anything like that.
Even now, Michael denied everything with a half-hearted smile, showing no sign of remorse. My anger finally reached its limit. If you're going to say that, show me the inside of the house.
What? Oh, wait.
Ignoring his attempt to stop me, I stepped into our home, only to find a completely changed living room. The custom dresser, the shelves imported from overseas, my favorite sofa. Almost all the furniture was gone, leaving only the bare essentials. It's become quite spacious, hasn't it?
This is because Nicole said she didn't need them.
Finally starting to panic, Michael made excuses with a pale face, but I stepped closer. Enough of your lies. I know you sold the furniture to spend on your mistress. At my shout, he gasped. After hearing the shocking truth from my daughter, I contacted a detective agency. For the past week, they had thoroughly investigated Michael's behavior. As a result, it was revealed that he had been neglecting my daughter and having an affair. According to the detective, Michael was quite generous during his dates, likely spending a significant amount on his mistress.
This can't be. Why would you investigate me?
Watching him lose his composure, I smiled. I had one final punishment prepared for Michael. Of course, you'll be divorcing my daughter. But you'll probably be fired from your job too. As expected, his eyes widened at this statement.
What? Why does my job have anything to do with this?
I've been working on a project overseas, and it's been decided that we'll be acquiring several companies. Yes. One of them is your employer. The shock was so great that Michael began to tremble. It was purely coincidental that we were acquiring his company, but I wasn't going to let this opportunity go to waste. I had informed the president of Michael's company about everything that had happened to Nicole. What they decide to do with you is up to them, but if it were me, I wouldn't employ someone who harasses his wife, cheats, and sells other people's furniture without permission. In my words, Michael finally broke down.
No way. I married Nicole, the daughter of a big company, and now it all means nothing.
Pulling at his hair, Michael finally revealed his true, ugly feelings, clinging to me with a pale face.
Please. Could you tell my boss that it was a mistake? I'll apologize for everything I've done. I'm begging you.
Desperately grabbing my hand, Michael pleaded, but I looked at him coldly. At first, I was angry at myself for not stopping this marriage, but ultimately, he was the one at fault. There was no room for sympathy for Michael, who had intended to mistreat Nicole from the beginning. I will never forgive you. Live your life regretting what you did to my daughter. With that, I shook off his hand and headed back to the hotel where my daughter was waiting, without looking back. In the end, Nicole divorced Michael. He ended up with a debt of $240,000, including $40,000 in alimony and $200,000 for the furniture he sold without permission. Moreover, due to my report and his habit of boasting about my influence at work, Michael was fired from his job. On top of that, his parents, who learned of the situation, disowned him, leaving him without a home, job, money, or family. Meanwhile, I returned to the U.S. and now live happily with Nicole and her newborn baby. From now on, the three of us will work together to build a warm and loving home.
How did you like this story? Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. See you in the next video.